Watch for service faults. All right, so we're looking for foot faults on the baseline. And I've talked about the imaginary extensions of the sideline and the center court line. All right, everybody with me on that one? Right, so you easily have the baseline at the back of the court, and then you have the center line that separates the left court from the right court, and you have the sideline. So if we're talking about the server being in the even court, so they're to the right, there will be the sideline, and to their left, there will be the center line. Those lines extend out the back of where the baseline is, just for the servers. So their foot their foot cannot be outside the boundaries of those lines or over those lines to serve. Their hands can be. So if you get close to that center line and you actually have your hand over onto the next court and you break the plane, if there was a plane that goes up horizontally, that's okay. But your feet cannot be outside the extension and in contact outside the extension of those boundaries. But if they start out there and they waltz in and move into and then make contact with the ball, and as long as one foot is behind the baseline and the other one is in the air, that's not a fault. They're good to go. Right? Everybody understand that one? Let me know if you don't. And of course, we're looking for any illegal serves, which I'm not going to get into too much today. I think we all understand what the illegal serves are: above the waist, paddle had above the wrist, and above the wrist, and of course, no upward arc on the ball and or upward motion. A button works sometimes and doesn't work others. There we go. Visually follow the ball to receiving court and watching for any lets and short serves, which we've already talked about. Starting the service motion before the complete score has been called is a fault, right? So if I go 4-2 and don't get one out or two, and they start moving their arm even backward, all right? As soon as that service arm, the paddle hand, starts moving either in a forward or a backward motion, prior to me completely calling the entire score, I go fault, service motion, second server, or side out, depending on what the score was when they initiated that. So you need to be ready and know what you're going to call before those happen. That's the best advice I can give you. Be thinking about all these situations beforehand. Service motion begins with the server's arms either moving forward or backward. Just what I've said. 10-second rule. Any 10-second violation results in a fault against the server. So again, after you call the score, you have to know approximately how long 10 seconds are. You're not starting your stopwatch each and every time. There's no way you're doing that. So all I can do is I call the score. I had a fellow at Nationals last year that took me to 9 count every time he served. Unfriggin' believable. He knew my cadence. He knew my call. He was perfectly on. Never called him once. The other side was getting irate because he was taking so long to serve, but he just took the time. So what happens, what I usually do with that is I call the score, nothing's happening, they're not moving. Now I'll start going 6. Then I'll start bringing my hand up, 7, 8, 9, and the service motion starts, he's good. If I get to chop and go 10, right away it's fault, service violation, second server, side out. The serve is not a let unless it lands within the proper service court. So what we're saying, I think you probably are all astute enough to get that one. Ball hits the net, and if it does not, if it lands into the non-volley zone line, or the non-volley zone, or hits the non-volley zone line, it is a fault. If the ball goes over the net and hits the center line, right? Is it good? Is that a let or a fault?
It's good.
Good. All right, good. Want to see who got it first? It is good because it made contact with the line. Does it matter what side of that line it makes contact with. So it's the center line, right? What if it hits on the far right-hand side of that? We're serving from the even court to even court, which would mean the left-hand side of that line is really the target, but it hits on the right side of that line over the center of the center line. Is that still good?
Yeah,
The line's good.
Still good.
the line is in.
Line, is it not?
Couldn't confuse any of you. You're bang on. The line is the line is the line. There are people who think there's a center line running down it, and if it doesn't hit it hits on the wrong side of it, it's not in. Touches the line, it's good. And the other rule is that if it's not clearly seen out, it is good. So if you've got to know 100%, and we'd like to get this into social play, so that everybody realizes that line, as long as it's close to that line, and you can't really see it clearly 100% out. If it's 99% out, that's not good enough, right? It's got to be 100%. Therefore, if any doubt exists, it goes to the opposition who hit the ball. And you'll see the pros doing this all the time now. That's why at the PPA, they do not have line judges, because of this little bit
Rick,
of
what did they want?
We just wants to know if we consider coming out there.
Tell Rick he's on, we can hear him. There you go. So what I was saying at the Nationals last year, they had some problems with line judging calls, and the professionals then went into their tournament and don't want line judges. They're calling their own, which I think is a big mistake. And of course, seen lots of mistakes called by themselves, but they can call, and they do this, they call a ball good when it is well out. They give the other side so much credit that it's fine. But if they want to do that, the rules have been changed to allow them to call to their own detriment. So they can do that. Any serve, touching, receiving, or the receiver's partner before landing is a point for the serving team, even if the partner is clearly standing out of bounds. We all know that as players. You call every fault immediately, loudly, and confidently. I can't get over to you strongly enough that the players are watching you as a referee the moment you step on that court. How you conduct yourself, how you speak, how you give the court briefing, what you know, you're imparting to them your knowledge of the game and how you're going to handle it. And if you are confident and you're clear and you're concise and to the point, they'll know that you're going to call that game the same way. So you need to be very aware, again, how you present yourself on that court at all times. Be ready to make the call. So after you make the fault call, you are going to call point if it was to their advantage. You're going to call second server if it was a first server that had been serving and they made a mistake, or you're going to call side out. Those are the only things you're going to do. All right, point, second server, side out. When a volley is hit from close to the non-volley zone, you do not follow the flight of the volleyed ball. What are you doing?
Watching the non-volley zone.
You're watching the feet of the person, okay? That's what you're doing. You are watching the non-volley zone. Focus on the non-volley zone for faults until momentum is under control. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret. When I've been teaching people, and after going for my evaluation myself, I was telling them that when you're watching the non-volley zone and you're going to be evaluated, I want you to sort of be leaning forward, intently looking at the non-volley zone and going from left to right with that ball and moving your head and your upper torso, making it obvious what you're doing. You're following that ball and you're watching the feet and you're watching every hit that happens. Well, guess what? That's not what they want you to do anymore. What the best referees they find are doing are using the peripheral vision. So what they're doing is they're looking dead ahead, but we can see over here and we can see over here. And so you just watch and you just move your eyes to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left. You don't move your head at all. You keep completely focused. And it is amazing how much you see. And why we're saying that, so many times what happens is somebody over here hits a ball volley, hits a ball hard to the back of the court. And what do? They quickly move their head to the left to watch that ball. And of course, you've missed now the person who hit that ball and the forward momentum and falling into the non-volley zone or something else that happens. So again, if you keep focused just like that onto the center of the net, you can see into the non-volley zone on both sides. You need to try that. You need to practice it, and you'll see how well it does work. But a little bit of a hint there. If the ball bounces prior to being hit, non-volley zone faults are not in effect, right? I keep on going back to nationals when I first started. Man, I had men's doubles, 5-0s, and they were into about their 35th hit, 36th hit, and the ball went over, and I go, fault, volley, and it wasn't. The ball had bounced, and they looked at me and gave me daggers, and and going, oh my God, but all you can do is say sorry and start it over. Referee error. We'll play on that, please. You're watching the non-volley zone is a primary responsibility. I can't say it's your number one responsibility, but let me tell you how important this is. If you miss anything that happens in that non-volley zone, you need to have a severe talk with yourself. Okay? What they're doing now is that at the PPA, they're using a 2-referee system because they think there's so much going on in the non-volley zone, especially with the pros when they're doing ernies and jumping over the side of the nets. There was a good photo where Lucy Kornikova, she was playing with Matt Wright, and she did an ernie to hit a ball, but the ball never came to her. He hit it cross court back to Matt. And so, but she, with her paddle, broke the plane of the net. Didn't touch the ball, but her paddle extended beyond the center post and the net. But the referee was watching the ball come back from Moore to Wright, and they missed that fault that she had made by breaking the plane of the net and not hitting the ball. So that's why they've instituted the two referee system, where they're now they're trying to focus more on that non-volley zone line. I like to think that I don't miss anything out there. You never know. If you don't see it, you don't know that you've missed it unless it's on camera or you have somebody else. But again, your focus in that non-volley zone is so important. That's one of your primary functions after that match has started. You need to be watching that intently, knowing what's going on. You can't miss it. So score sheet marking and recordings. I've already sort of mentioned this. It's all about leaving tracks for recreating later. So that when we have a dispute and you call 6-4-2, no, ref, they've already served. That was their second server. It's side out. And you go back and you look at the score, you look at the diagonal marks on the scorecard, and you look at your close peg. Excuse me. You've got all those indicators that you need to know, that you're able to look at. And if it continues, there's a big dispute, you call the 4 people to the center of the court, away from the sides, away from any other referee, so you're not interfering with the other games either side of you. And we get them to the center, and you have a dialogue with them. And of course, we're going to have a slide that comes up here. And what is the referee all about? The referee is a facilitator. You're facilitating the match for these players the best you can to make it even. If those 4 players say, no, it was this way, and they're all happy with that, and they're not breaking any rules, you should just go along with that. There's no problem with that. But if you know for sure, you stick to your guns and you call it the way you've seen it, if you know are 100% absolutely correct. So it says, do it right, do it well, and do it every time. The same mark. It gets boring out there because you're doing the same thing each and every time when you're marking that score. We record every point as it occurs and promptly. Use the appropriate diagonals in the boxes based on the server. So the first server, again, top right to lower left. And if it's the second server, we're going from top left to lower right. So you get your diagonals right. If you have clothespins there today and you haven't got marks on them, has anybody got that? Anybody got a clothes peg that doesn't have
Yeah.
a mark on it? All right, let's take a minute and just do this right now. All right, so here's my clothes peg. If you got one, you got your Sharpie. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a slash, and I put it at the slash at the top up here so that it goes this way. And then down here, we'll put number 2. Oh, I did it wrong. Got to go the other way. Messed that one up already. And over here, we're going to go that way and number 1. See how easy it is to do that? So slash that way for number 1. And of course, this way now, we'll just start that one again. We go over here and it goes like that. Forget about this big black square up here. All right, we're going the other way. So that's when you have your clothespin ready to go and moving it left and right. You have to get so intimate with this clothes peg and the clipboard, right? So that there's all sorts of pins out there, and it's very important, I find, how far apart they are and how much spring they have on them. I mean, they have to have enough so that you can get a nice grip onto the paper. But if they're too far apart, every time you're moving it, it makes it longer and more difficult to do. So that's why some of the clothes pegs are far better than others, and you need to get the right one. And I like this one where it's not very much. You just take it off, you turn it around and put it on. I see people fumbling with their scorecard all the time. They need to be able to get it down so that you can move it very quickly, very easily, and put it down to your side after you've looked at it.